MMA stuff. Nick Diaz is back, and I know a lot of people are very happy about that. Who's he fighting? Is there any talk of that? Is it Jorge Masvidal? Is that finalized, Lewis? Do we know?
That's not officially finalized. I guess Dana White and the UFC have not confirmed this. This is, I guess, maybe it was Brett Okamoto via Dana White said that this is the fight. Nick Diaz is coming back after a 4-year layoff, I think something like that. And this is a tall task in Jorge Masvidal. Look, we are not fans of Jorge Masvidal on the show. We've never shied away from not being fans of his. But I will tell you right now, the same thing I said for Nate Diaz when we talked about the potential matchup there. I think it's a tough matchup after a long layoff. 4 years is a very, very, very long time off. And I know we can name a few times where guys have looked great after that long of a layoff, but I think it's more often than not, ring rust proves to be a real thing.
Well, it's not so much the fact that we're not a fan of Jorge Masvidal. It's more to do with the fact that the guy's just an asshole. You know what I mean? He's a very, very low-class individual. He's a cocksucker. What do you want me to tell you? The guy's an absolute piece of shit. I don't like the way he carries himself. He doesn't conduct himself with any ounce, any iota of class. You know, he talks about being, I'm a rough kid. I'm a street fighter. Yeah, and you look like one, and you act like one, and you sound like one. And you do a disservice to everybody from your background. You know, he really does. He's a piece of whatever. If he was on fire, I wouldn't give him the steam off my piss. But that said, you can't deny the guy's fighting ability. You know, he does have legitimate skills. He's a good fighter. I mean, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, I think that was the last time he was in action, if I'm not mistaken. I think so. But anyway, he gave, obviously he lost that fight to Wonderboy. But Wonderboy's a tough guy. He's a tough customer. Masvidal's tough, personal feelings aside, credit where credit's due in the fight world. He's good. So regarding Nick Diaz, you got to give Nick respect there. That's a tough fight. It's nice to see Nick Diaz back. I follow him on Instagram. I almost had to unfollow Nick Diaz.
Why?
Because it was just, every morning you get out of bed, I come downstairs, I sit on the couch, I have my coffee, and I have to watch Nick Diaz, hanging out in nightclubs with a bunch of hot chicks, enjoying himself. And it was just, his liver must be in a bad way because that's all it seemed to be. Constantly.
If Michael Bisping is telling you that your liver must be in a bad way, your liver must be in a fucking bad way. I get it though. He's living the life. This is the truth, and you can admit this, Michael Bisping. He's living the life.
No.
We all want to live.
We all want to live that life. What I was going. No, we don't want to talk over each other as well because my mic digitizes. What I was saying was it's just the same thing every day. Which, by the way, it looks like he's having a great time. I wasn't hating on that. But, when you get out of bed and you look at people's Instagram stories, it's just the same thing. It's like, oh, God, swipe past. So don't get me wrong. As I say, it looks like he's having a great time. But when there's no variation in the Instagram posts, I've seen it before. And, okay, fair enough. I'm a little guilty of that. I do like to do a little story when I'm on my runs or a little My Protein or whatever. But you got to do it. But, yeah, anyway, he's back 4 years. Is that confirmed, you say? Dana said it's almost done?
No, it's not officially confirmed. This is rumored, but it's Brett Okamoto said Dana White said this. So, yeah, I mean, I'm super excited about it, but, I don't mind me. I like Nick Diaz. I've always liked Nick. I'm a huge Nick Diaz fan, always have been. And he's pretty entertaining on Instagram. Every once in a while, you just tune into his story. He's just doing nunchucks, smoking weed with hot chicks at the pool. God bless his soul, But it's kind of weird because I feel like Masvidal isn't necessarily a really high profile fight. And I feel like Nick Diaz, it seems like he's only taking those big, huge money fights. It was the only thing that was going to entice him. So my theory is the UFC probably just said, fuck it, dude. We know what Nick Diaz is going to do in terms of a draw. We know that one side of the coin, as long as one is really, really strong, it's going to be a huge pay-per-view. And then you entice Nick Diaz to come back, he gets a big win, and you set up him versus Conor or him versus whoever down the line. But just getting him out of his fucking hibernation and out of his cave, it seems like it was a tall task. I'm assuming they're paying him a boat shit ton of money.
I have no idea. I'm assuming knowing the Diaz's know their worth, yeah, for sure. I'm assuming they'll be getting paid well. A boat shit ton of money, I don't know about that, Probably not what his brother got. But Masvidal's a tough fight, So if what you're suggesting is just to get him, back in the groove, get him back on the show, fight, and then get a win and set up a big fight, honestly, Masvidal's not the right opponent to do that. As I said, I made my feelings about him personally clear at the start, but he's a legitimate fighter. You know, yeah, of course, on the ground, Diaz is a proper martial artist and is very, very good on the ground, good off his back, excellent jiu-jitsu in general, and a ton of experience. But on the feet, Masvidal can hang with Diaz, I would say. I would like, hey, nothing would please me more than to say he can't hang. Okay, but he can. He's a tough guy. So it isn't a give me. And as you say, with the 4 years away, 4 years is a long time. And, of course, GSP came back after 4 years, but they're very different people. GSP is the type of guy that looks after himself, that was doing backflips and cartwheels and protein shakes the whole time, as we all know. Diaz, as you said, hanging out in Vegas, living his best life, to use a term that the kids use on Instagram these days. But he's also a natural fighter. So that's the difference. So some people, just to contradict myself completely, some people need a training camp, or they need the experience, or they need a sports psychologist. Nick Diaz is a real fighter, and he'll probably step up and fight at a moment's notice, a minute's notice, let alone a few months.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, it's kind of hard to pick the fight. I would obviously love to pick Nick Diaz. I always pick the Diaz brothers. It's very difficult for me to pick against them. But I almost see they're almost similar type of fighters to a certain degree. They're both like street fighter, tough kids who came from like tough background. Diaz has a jiu-jitsu background, but the reality is they're going to stand and bang. Nick Diaz is not taking Jorge Masvidal down. Jorge Masvidal is more athletic, probably has substantially better wrestling. It's going to end up being a boxing match. And dude, look, Nick Diaz fucking outboxes people he's not supposed to outbox, and it surprises me every time. But I'm excited.
Masvidal has no wrestling whatsoever. No wrestling
whatsoever. Neither does Nick.
So yeah, but he's probably got more than goddamn Masvidal. Masvidal is not going to out-wrestle Diaz. If anything, it's the other way around. But Diaz, I've said this before, when he fought Anderson Silva, I was there working for Fox. I was in the arena in Las Vegas. And when he fought Anderson Silva, and in that first round, he just led on the floor. He led on the floor and pretended he was taking a nap or whatever. That was the greatest thing I've seen anybody do in a mixed martial arts fight. You're against Anderson Silva, and this was a good few years ago when he was still in his prime. And, Anderson fucks about. He likes to disrespect his opponent. So Diaz thought, I'll give you a taste of your own medicine. And when he led on the floor and doing all that shenanigans, we'll call them, I just thought, this guy's great. This guy, he had me as a lifelong fan right then and there.
Yeah, the Diaz brothers, just in general, very real personality types. Also, the other thing is, now that I don't really know, maybe Harrington can shed some light on this. People are talking about it now. Brock Lesnar, I guess, might not be coming back because of something he got booked on. I don't even know. I paid no attention to pro wrestling in the slightest bit. I don't give a fuck at all about it for the most part. But what's up with that? People were saying this on the internet. What was the theory there?
So basically, Roman Reigns, the WWE champion after Brock Lesnar, had leukemia. So he was forced to leave the WWE. That led to a secret contract signing for Brock Lesnar to take the title back and carry it ostensibly through WrestleMania, which is in April, which comes after DC's retirement date. So that could lead to an issue there.
Okay, got it. Okay, so Brock Lesnar. Can he do both?
How did we just go from talking about Nick Diaz to now all of a sudden on Brock Lesnar?
Because I was making the point that with Brock Lesnar possibly being out, they're looking for big pay-per-view draws.
Oh, okay. I don't know if that's necessarily the case, though. They're always trying to get Brock Lesnar back. Brock Lesnar's a megastar. He's a huge star from the WWE, and he's flirted back and forth over the years. I think that's going to happen. I know what you're referring to. I read something about that online before. Yeah, I think, who was it? Somebody from the WWE this morning or yesterday. I saw something on Twitter anyway. Said it's fine. There's no issues at their end. As long as the UFC is willing to pay Lesnar his worth, then they have no issues. Yeah. And I'm sure the UFC will pay him his worth. He's fought there several times before.
Yeah, I'm sure they will. I mean, but now look, I think the UFC, they look at these gigantic, gargantuan fights as sort of what they need to be doing. I think they're trying to like put together a huge, massive fight once every couple months. Whereas I think before the whole, what's their name? Bought them. What's the company?
WME.
Yeah, WME bought them. It seemed like they were more it just seemed like the owners were more like MMA purists back then. You know what I'm saying? Now it seems like they are trying to make blockbuster just, decisions based off of the absolute most money you can make. And I'm sure the UFC was always concerned with the amount of money they were making, but it just didn't seem like before WME got involved that it was a little bit more about the sport.
Well, I mean, the businessmen at the end of the day, so you can't blame them. They're trying to get a recoup on their investment. But I will say this again: I get paid from the UFC, Lewis. So save this for your Legion of Skanks podcast, okay?
I'm not shitting on them.
I know you know. No, I know. But
I'm a huge
can't blame
fan.
them. They're trying to put on the bigger fights. But they're going to do what they did. They bought the company for $4 billion. They want to make money. I certainly would. If you paid anything, you want to make the most out of it. And for the most part, when they do those big fights, that's because if it's a big fight, that means that people buy it. And if people buy it, that means people want to see it. So to a certain degree, to a certain degree, I'll finish my point. They are right to do so. Now, of course, you're always going to get your MMA purists that say, this isn't right. There's more deserving guys. Demetrius Johnson should be headlining every card. He's the best guy, But unfortunately for the masses, for the mass appeal, which is what you need to try and take a sport to the next level, to the mainstream, because UFC isn't a mainstream sport yet. It's almost there. It's on the fringe. It's on the cusp of becoming that in the US, only in the US. But to do that, to get that exposure to everybody, you need those blockbuster fights. So who knows? Maybe it's all part of their master plan to down the line transition to more traditional matchmaking, if you will, once they break that threshold.
Mike, right now, I got to tell you, I'm drinking this amazing lion's mane mushroom tea from our good friends Four Sigmatic. I love it, dude. I can't drink other coffee now.
The coffee is delicious. And by the way, it is coffee. For all those people that hear mushroom coffee, they think mushroom coffee, doesn't sound like me, although I'm a fun guy to be with. But the coffee is actually coffee. You didn't pick up on the joke? Mushroom is a fun guy.
No, I got it. It was bad. I was ignoring it.
Okay. Well, anyway, it doesn't matter, fun guy or not, I am. But the coffee is delicious, and it is made with 100% organic Arabica beans. It does not taste like mushrooms, as I just said. I brew it the same way as a normal pot of coffee, but it is infused with the mushroom superfoods that are known to support focus and creativity. Now, here's a little bit about the company itself, Four Sigmatic. Mushrooms are a superfood that have been consumed for centuries to live more enhanced lives and are completely overlooked by the Western diet, and that is why I'm recommending Four Sigmatic. They are making consuming mushrooms as simple as brewing a cup of coffee. Obviously. Now, they've sent us a variety of stuff to try out. Of course, the coffee is what we're talking about, but they've also got hot cocoa with lion's mane. They've got matcha with Matiaga. They've got lemonade with chaga. They
Love
have
the
an
lemonade.
abundance of products.
Yeah,
lemonade's great.
Yeah, we're big fans of everything over here. The coffee is my favorite. I just drink so much coffee as it is, and my problem is I drink coffee, and I feel like when you're drinking coffee all the time, it sort of feels like you're not doing something healthy. It feels like you're having a negative. There's negative benefits of drinking too much coffee. You feel like, you have too much caffeine or whatever it is. Every time I have another cup of coffee, I sort of feel guilty, like maybe I shouldn't be having another cup of coffee. Let me tell you something. When you're drinking Four Sigmatic, you are getting all of those amazing benefits of the superfood mushrooms. So many different benefits right there. Such an amazing, healthy drink for you to be consuming. So now every time I drink a cup of coffee, it is the opposite feeling. I love them. I think you guys will love them. This is actually one of the best holiday gifts you can get. If you have a friend or a family member who's a coffee drinker, and we all know people who just can't not have a cup of coffee in their hands, this is a great way to change their habit into something that's extremely healthy. So right now, go to foursigmatic.com. That's all spelled out, FOURSIGMATIC.com/believe, and go purchase some amazing coffee for you or your loved ones. Once again, that is foursigmatic.com, all spelled out, and go try it out. I promise you guys will love it.